You know how that does.
Okay, welcome everyone. It's Friday afternoon. I hope you're doing well. And we're going to do a couple of interesting Rashis today. Um, just let me get that up on my screen. Sorry. Okay, unfortunately, in our Parsha, we have many setbacks, not only in terms of the complaints of Jewish people, but the death of Miriam and Aaron. And in this section of the Parsha, we will deal with the death of Aaron. The Torah uses very specific language to Moshe about how to go about this process. What I wanted to do is to look at a couple of Rashis that examine the death of Aaron from the perspective of Moshe and the perspective of the people, both of which I think are very moving. So Hashem gives the word that Aaron is going to die in this place called Hor Hahar, and he says to Moshe, Kach es Aaron v'es Elazar beno v'halo sam Hor Hahar. Take Aaron and take his son Elazar and go up to Hor Hahar. And then he gives them all the instructions about what to do. You should take off the big day kahuna and pass them over to Elazar, etc. And then Moshe does that. Vayas Moshe kasher tziva Hashem. So take a look at this Rashi. Kach es Aaron. He says to Moshe, Kach es Aaron b'devarim shel nichumim. You should take Aaron with comforting, consoling words. Aaron's going to know that you're taking him up to his death, that he's not going to go forward with the Jewish people, but do so with words of comfort. What would those words of comfort be? Very sad words for Moshe, but very comforting words for Aaron. Amar lo, Ashrecha, say to him, happy is you, how lucky is you, how fortunate are you. Shetire kitrecha natun levanecha, Masha'ein ani zakai lakach. The whole purpose of taking Aaron up to this mountain is not only so that he is going to die there, but before that, so that the mantle of leadership of the Kahuna Gedola was going to go from Aaron to Elazar. And so in order to soften the blow of this whole experience of death for Aaron, in order to comfort him in this moment where he was almost mourning his own loss, Hashem says to Moshe, you know what, tell him that at least you should feel so fortunate that in your lifetime you saw the mantle pass from you to your children, something I will not experience. That's what Moshe is supposed to say to Aaron. Again, very sad for Moshe. Moshe is lamenting the fact in some way that he won't see the leadership of the Jewish people pass to his actual sons. It'll be passed to Yehoshua, who is a surrogate son in many ways, a student who is like a son in many ways, but not to his own children, not to his own blood and his flesh. He won't see that legacy passed on in his family. Whereas he's saying to Aaron, yeah, you're going to die now. We're going to go up to this mountain. But literally before your eyes, not only figuratively, you're going to imagine your kids taking over. Literally before your eyes, the last thing you do on this earth is to transfer over the big day kahuna to your son. You're going to see the transition in your legacy occurring before your eyes. And that is a great, great gift to someone who is leaving this world, to be able to see the hemshech, to be able to see their legacy, to be able to see the continuity that will exist beyond them, especially in their own family. And as hard as that was for Moshe to do, the pasuk says, "Vayas Moshe kasher tziva Hashem," and Rashi says, "Vayas Moshe afal pisha davar kashalo lo ikev." Even though this was very difficult for him, losing his brother, seeing the end of an era, Moshe Rabbeinu does it, and exactly as Hashem had commanded. So that's the reaction of Moshe, so to speak, the words of Moshe, how Moshe frames the death of Aaron. But the people too had an interesting reaction. After they dressed Elazar and Moshe and Elazar come down from Hor Hahar, Vayered Moshe v'Elazar minahar, Vayeru kol ha'eda ki gava Aaron. They put two and two together. They see Aaron go up and Aaron doesn't come back down. The people deduced the fact that Aaron had died. Vayivku es Aaron shloshim yom kol beis Yisrael. They cry for him for 30 days. Two beautiful Rashis here describing Vayeru kol ha'eda, them seeing Aaron die, or seeing him not come down, and crying for him for 30 days. Vayiru kol ha'eda. K'shera'u Moshe ve'Elazar yordim va'Aaron lo yarad. When they saw the two of them coming down without Aaron, Amru, they say, Heichan Aaron, where is he? What happened to him? Amar lahem meis. So Moshe says to them, he died. Amru, they say to him, Efshar misha amad keneged hamalach va'atar samagefa shalat bo malach hamavis. They couldn't believe it. They couldn't wrap their heads around the fact that Aaron was actually gone. They say, does the person who defeated the Malach HaMaves, who defeated the Magefa so many times, and especially even in recent experiences that we just read about in the last Parshas, Aaron stood up against death so many times. Is it possible that the Malach HaMaves actually got him? the death got a hold of him, that he's really gone, they literally couldn't believe it. They couldn't wrap their heads around a world in which Aaron was not present. He was such a fixture of their lives. He was such a fixture of their experience. He was such an important part of this whole story that they couldn't imagine life without him. That's how they felt when they saw him not come down. It wasn't just a sadness. It wasn't just a loss. It wasn't just mourning. It was total incredulity. How could this be? They couldn't wrap their heads around it. So much so, Bikesh Moshe Rachamim, Moshe had to ask for mercy for these poor people who just wouldn't accept the news. V'herahu lahem malache hashares mutal bamita rau veheminu. A miracle happened, and they saw an image, miraculously, of Aaron on his deathbed, an image that confirmed for them that he had really died. Once they saw that image with the Malache Hashares, surrounding Aaron in his deathbed, they knew that it was true and that he had died. They were able to accept it. And then, of course, they cry for 30 days, but the pasuk specifies that Kol Beis Yisrael, everyone cried. What does that mean? Ha'anashim, v'hanashim, the men, the women, everybody in between. Why? Why did everyone cry? Lefi shehaya Aaron ohev shalom v'rodev shalom. Aaron was a lover of peace, a chaser of peace, pursuer of peace. We've seen those Rashis earlier on, that Aaron was the one that used to make peace between people, like it says in Pirkei Avos, Ohev Shalom, Rodev Shalom. He used to tell one person off, the other person really wants to apologize. You tell that other person, oh, the other party really wants to apologize, even though they never said that. They would come together and make peace. He created peace. He created relationships. He brought people together and engendered so much love amongst people, amongst the Jewish people, but also towards him, that in this moment, Kol Beis Yisrael cried. Everyone mourned this loss. Meitil Ava ben Bale Meriva ben Ish Ishto. He used to bring peace and love between different people fighting, between husbands and wives, different couples, and therefore the reaction was quite strong. Number one, incredulity. I can't believe this is happening. And number two, once they really did believe it was happening, they cried for him. Everybody cried for him. The entire nation mourned the loss of their beloved leader. I think just two beautiful perspectives. Aaron's perspective, Moshe's perspective on the death of Aaron. This is incredibly difficult for me. I'm going to do it anyways. And I'm even going to offer Aaron nechama, comfort, consolation for his own death, which is to show him that his legacy will be passed on. And the people's reaction, very difficult. So difficult for them, they couldn't even believe it. Moshe convinces them, they finally believe it, it sets in. And there's a mourning that's so widespread, perhaps never seen before in Jewish history and never seen after in Jewish history. Just a beautiful image, a very sacred moment in Jewish history, although albeit very sad, but a very special moment that we can learn a lot from as well. Have a great Shabbos, everyone.